The Edmonton Oilers look a lot dangerous heading into this upcoming season with some recent offseason acquisitions that makes the team look potentially its most dangerous in quite a long time. I'll get into that breakdown into who the Oilers acquired, the numbers, the charts, the stats, all that jazz later on in the video, but make sure to subscribe to Oilers Digest as 91% of you have not yet subscribed to the channel. Make sure to follow for more Oiler news covering anything and everything about the Edmonton Oilers heading into the rest of free agency and into training camp in the regular season. But what could the new guys do? Yes, on July 1st, Jeff Jackson made a few moves in free agency. Of course, after the Stanley Cup final, Kris Knoblauch sort of alluded to, Leon Draisaitl not having, the firepower that other top centers in the NHL get. He says you look at Leon's line mates throughout the season, they're good players. They're not the same caliber as some other superstars get to play with. Of course, Leon Draisaitl throughout the season had guys like Warren Foegele, Ryan McLeod on his left side for some bit, Dylan Holloway for a good chunk of the playoffs. But, of course, Kris Knoblauch said wasn't exactly what, you'd expect Leon Draisaitl to have on his wings. And Jeff Jackson hears that message, a not-so-subtle message, and he goes and gets Jeff Skinner. And then later on we'll cover Viktor Arvidsson in free agency of Jeff Skinner from the Buffalo Sabres. There you can see his chart. He is all gas, no brakes there, 98, I should say, percentile offense, and then a lot to be desired there on the defensive side of the game, but he wasn't brought to the Oilers to be a defensive forward. He was here to finish. As you can see, he's tremendous at finishing, and then he does play against tough competition, and, he's on the power play in Buffalo. Not too sure if he's going to see top power play unit time in Edmonton, barring some injuries, but we've yet to see. And you can see his numbers there with the Buffalo Sabres, not including his 40-goal season with the Sabres in 2018-2019, but you can see there are two down years and then sort of picked it back up with the Buffalo Sabres. And we'll sort of get into, the line breakdown there, of course. In his 40-goal season, he had some firepower on his line with Jack Eichel and Sam Reinhart, and then it kind of, it kind of dwindles down with some lesser teammates, Marcus Johansson, Mojo, and then Vladimir Sobotka, mostly that he played with in the shortened, the shortened season, 2019-2020, and then lastly, Sam Reinhart and Viktor Olofsson. Of course, Skinner and Olofsson exactly not known for being defensive forwards, so it kind of, took a toll. Going back to the numbers here, in 53 games in 2020-2021, yeah, it's not something that, we expect Jeff Skinner to, produce in Edmonton with Leon Draisaitl in Viktor Arvidsson. Of course, we'll get to Arvidsson later on. And then lastly here from Skinner saying, I think everyone who watches hockey sort of saw the run the guys went on last year and witnessed how much passion their fans have and how much excitement there was in the city. And as a player, that's kind of why you play, to be a part of something like that. I think this group is pretty good, but there's still a lot of work to do. We have to start from game one. I think there's some good potential, and we've got a good group of guys, and I definitely like to see and feel that excitement, of course, alluding to the crazy Rogers Place crowd in Edmonton throughout the playoffs. Of course, Skinner has not played a playoff game in his career, despite playing more than 1,000 games. I think it's a little more than that. I think it's 1,006, but for Jeff Skinner in the Edmonton Oilers, he brings a lot to the table 5-on-5, and since the beginning of the 2021-22 season, Skinner has scored at a rate of 1.25 goals per 60 or per hour at 5-on-5, and amongst all forwards who have played a minimum of 750 minutes in that span, he ranks 10th in the entire league, and it would rank first on the Oilers, which is, for the amount of offensive firepower on the Oilers, with guys like, McDavid, Draisaitl, Hyman, Nugent-Hopkins to an extent, to rank first on the Oilers amongst those players is phenomenal. And then since 2021, he scored 68 even strength goals on 55 expected goals. This is precisely the type of offensive player they needed. And just going back here to that lineup, it's almost like cheating for the Edmonton Oilers at this point, adding, a guy like Jeff Skinner to that lineup when you already have, the deepest top six as it is without him. So Jeff Skinner, I'm very excited for him. And another guy I'm excited for, Viktor Arvidsson. Yes, coming from the Los Angeles Kings, of course. The Kings and Oilers played 3 straight years in the playoffs. Viktor Arvidsson missing the 2022 playoff series with an injury. But again, the numbers all phenomenal. You can see not available on the penalty kill percentile for Viktor Arvidsson, but he did play the PK in Nashville, so, to sort of fill in the roles with Ryan McLeod and Warren Foegele leaving, he could possibly, take a spot on that penalty kill. Of course, Viktor Arvidsson, I find he's a Warren Foegele replacement. Those two are not exactly comparable in my eyes. Viktor Arvidsson, much better all around there compared to Warren Foegele. In the comments, let me know if that's a fair comparison, if it's not. But that's just the way I view things. But even strength offense, again, like Jeff Skinner, phenomenal numbers. Finishing is not quite there, but he's more of a playmaker in my eyes from what I've seen when he was back even with the Nashville Predators and with the Los Angeles Kings. The only thing I am, kind of worried about, you can see the games played column there, hasn't played a full 82-game season yet, and that's, kind of the gamble that the Edmonton Oilers did take on a guy like Viktor Arvidsson. And in the playoffs against the Oilers, him and Adrian Kempe always tore up the Oilers, so it's nice to get one of those two on the team there. And then just looking at Viktor Arvidsson's results in transition, of course, the Kings not really much of a transition team. Of course, they did play that 1-3-1 style of defensive trap. So with something like that, it doesn't really generate speed, doesn't generate offense. But in the small sample size that it does happen, Arvidsson's numbers are phenomenal. Control entries per 60, 19th ranking, 19th, overall in that category for a 96th percentile. And then shots off the rush per 60, he's ranked first, 56th, but that's still good enough, almost cracking 90th percentile for control entries with chances per 60, and then controlled exits per 60. So you can trust him to take the puck out of the zone. You can trust him, with the puck on the transition game. And with a guy like Leon Draisaitl and Jeff Skinner, that's huge for the Oilers to have, a line that is very formidable to follow up that first line of, Nuge, McDavid, and Hyman. And you need speed, like Leon Draisaitl, he needs a guy with speed, and Viktor Arvidsson and Jeff Skinner could provide that exactly. And with, the transition game for the Oilers, they are probably the best in the league regarding that, and that's just the bread and butter for Viktor Arvidsson and Jeff Skinner. And just looking, like I mentioned earlier on, Jeff Skinner and Arvidsson currently slotted in that second power play unit. Of course, that's subject to change. But it'd be pretty exciting to see what those two can do on the special teams too. And like I said earlier, Arvidsson could take some of that, special teams time on the penalty kill with the absences of Foegele and McLeod. But it all just boils down to, Arvidsson staying healthy. Can Skinner, not succumb to the pressure from the media? He's in Edmonton, hasn't played a playoff game before. Don't really want another Connor Brown situation here when they come up with all these expectations, all this hype. And then, start off the season slow. Of course, for Arvidsson, needs a little bit of time to get back into the lineup. He played a little under 20 games in the regular season before heading into the playoffs with Los Angeles. So, temper expectations at first. I know with Edmonton being a huge media hotspot for hockey, putting all the pressure, all the expectations on the players. I'm excited, but, right off the bat, if things don't, go exactly to plan, just give it some time. We all saw what happened with the season, but let me know down in the comments. Do you think this makes the Oilers a better team? Are you worried about Arvidsson's injury history? Do you think that he will click with Leon Draisaitl and Jeff Skinner? Would you even move one of them up to the top line with Connor McDavid? With Skinner, McDavid, Hyman line? Could that unlock more for the Oilers? Would you rather see Nuge with Draisaitl? Who knows? Still lots of time before training camp to, get all those questions answered, but let me know down in the comments what you think the Oilers should do with these two new acquisitions. That's it for today. Have a great day. I'm Matt.